So just want to reiterate what I've been saying for the last few months. These are extreme buying opportunities, right? We have a lot of volatility in the global equity markets. That's affecting everything. We have inflation reports. We have high interest rate reports. We have a war that's about to perhaps break out in the Ukraine. We've got tensions between, top nations. So all of this has an impact as we begin our 2022 journey. So make no mistake, there is going to be a shortage of Bitcoin. Whether you see that now or not. I'm also human, so if I look at my portfolio every day, I can see the, 90% drop. So it's literally like if you over leverage, you have a lot of money in there. And this is, a lot of people are saying, get rid of your fiat money, stay into crypto because that's the real power. I can agree to a certain extent, but then if I need money on a daily basis, or if I'm making my 30-day plan, 90-day plan, and I have all my money in crypto, and crypto is going through a brief cycle, and that could be months, which I've lived through, a brief cycle of drawback or drawdown, that's going to hugely and immensely impact my ability to plan, financially speaking, right? So if I want to do renovations or buy a new house or whatever, and I'm planning for the next 90 days that this is going to come through and happen, and I put all my eggs in this basket, this market has a lot of volatility. So I've lived through that, and I'm here to speak on that to say, hey, be mindful of what you put into crypto. People have made hundreds of thousands of dollars just by putting a couple $100 into crypto. It doesn't take that much because you have a brand new asset class, right? So patience is virtue, and that goes for myself as well. That's what I found is to be the key. Don't over leverage, have patience, and ensure that everything will be, in a good order. If the market sinks and you drop $2-3 trillion. So speaking of which, the market cap right now is, coasting around 1.7 trillion US. A few months ago, we hit pretty much $3 trillion, and that was quite the milestone. Those who have been involved in crypto for quite some time was anticipating that 2021 we would have quite possibly seen $5 trillion market cap. That's the trajectory. So we've had some drawbacks in terms of some fundamentals, in terms of some regulations and frameworks that all seem to come together like a well-orchestrated plan back in May and June of last year, right? Towards the ending of May and into June, you had the SEC and their partners come together to form this crypto framework. So they were targeting crypto, right? As things were beginning to heat up, I mentioned this in a few videos, and I don't want to seem repetitive. That's why I just put a video out every month or so, because during that time, I'm taking in all the information that I look at. I'm also trying to make some gains in the market as well. And it turns out that I just have to be patient, right? I do get frustrated, if I over leverage on something and I'm taking a bet. That's literally what it is. If I'm taking a bet on a certain crypto, which I know to be fundamentally strong, and then it gets drawn down because of something going on with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin controls like the whole market in an essence, if you will. Look at it from that point of view. Yes, other altcoins gain momentum on Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin drops tomorrow, then everything sinks. We've seen that over the last few days. This was kind of not expected, because we had a pretty much I can't remember, but I think November and December was, especially in November, I'm thinking back to November, should have had a good solid green. Things, were supposed to pop off in December according to the Plan B forecast. However, that did not occur. And what we saw was, extreme volatility, and a lot of, discussion about raising the interest rate. So when you raise the interest rates, that's not good for Bitcoin. And a lot of other factors, right? So we have a possible war happening, all these things. So just wanted to touch base and say, keep the faith, because I've seen this market go from 60 billion to 1.7 trillion. And that seems like wow to me, because I really have to sit down and realize that, hey, I was watching this market before it even hit 1 trillion. And somehow we got to the trillion. Then Bitcoin itself, just by itself, became 1 trillion. And the whole market, the altcoins, everything combined went to 3 trillion. So that's monumental, but it's still in its infancy, and you can tell because there's not very good regulation framework out there for crypto, and certain countries are still talking about banning crypto and not whatnot. But right now, there's still money to be made. So the NFT market share has been increasing and gaining momentum. That's about to probably peak in 2025, right? So you have if you pour money into Bitcoin and you just say, I'm a holder, hodler, I'm going to hold Bitcoin. Guess what? That eventually that money, goes down to the altcoins, right? Because you can buy an altcoin with your Bitcoin. So the NFT marketplace, now you can buy NFTs mostly with Ethereum. So Ethereum's market share just, rose rather quickly, over the last year. So now it's having some cooling down and tapering off to be expected. And some other altcoins might just, take over that runway and start making new highs. So with Ethereum being one of the main components to the NFT marketplace, especially when you talk about OpenSea, with the high gas fees and everything, you need even more Ethereum. So now there's more demand for Ethereum, naturally speaking. However, MATIC has come into the space to fill the void as a layer two, I believe a layer two, basically to remove those gas fees, right? So you can still buy your Ethereum-based NFT using MATIC, and it'll be a much cheaper purchase. So OpenSea has really recently released something like that. I believe you can use MATIC, but for the most part, I'm seeing Ethereum still. So I myself, if I purchase NFTs, I'm going to have to buy an Ethereum and then purchase the NFT. So that NFT is sitting with OpenSea, and it's sitting on an Ethereum blockchain. So Ethereum is like the largest dApp platform out there, right? Not to say that there's not others out there that could, try to take some market share, which they already are, Cardano, and namely Solana. Solana is extremely cheap. It's rose so quickly in the last year. It's having also a cool down, but in the long term, that could really pose a threat in terms of taking over some market share from Ethereum, right? As Solana Sol art begins to mature, and it's cheaper, more cost effective, you're going to see more people migrate to that platform. So just wanted to stop by and say, hey, you know what? Bitcoin is at an extreme low right now. I believe it's 35,000, 36,000 American. I'm kind of watching to see what happens. We do have a death cross right now. And typically when we saw a death cross in the past, Bitcoin drops a bit more. And right now the RSI is telling us that this is in real oversold territory for what it is right now. I don't have the report with me, but in one of my videos, I did say that 2022 is going to be the year that Bitcoin is scarce. And namely being because of people who are mining Bitcoin large institutions and organizations, etc. They're mining Bitcoin and they don't have to sell their Bitcoin to pay for electricity for their operations, right? Whereas in the past, that was the case. So we are approaching the operational cost of mining Bitcoin, which is roughly around 34,000, 33,000 per my knowledge. So right now we're just, if the miners are mining Bitcoin, they're just breaking even. They're not with the current price. They're not profiting. But guess what? They're not selling. And you know why? They're not selling because institutions now have their back. They're telling the mining operations, don't worry, let's strike a partnership. We'll fund your operations if you do a deal with us. Don't sell your Bitcoin. So mine the Bitcoin, will fund the operation, and don't sell. Where have you heard this before? It's a partnership. It's doing a deal, right? It's cutting a deal. So when Bitcoin is 35,000, I hope we all have some type of money to buy something. I'm not a financial advisor, but at this point in time, I wish I could just go out there and buy 100. Buy one, right? It's always a risk. You just never know. You might just buy it today, and then all of a sudden tomorrow it actually goes to 10 grand, sits there for a week or two, and you never know, right? But right now the price is really in the extreme fear. It's in the buy zone, extreme buy zone, I would say. Unless we have some type of market crash, like some kind of bubble burst that, I would call that a black swan event, like many others do. And that event is really, you're just sitting on the sidelines waiting with your money to say, look, you know what? There's still uncertainty out there. Nobody knows if Bitcoin's going to just jump from 35 to 45,000 in a couple of weeks. If it does cross the 45,000, right at this point, we go back in that bullish momentum. Then you might see 75 grand. But from right now, 35,000 US all the way to 100, not a bad move, right? Not to say that 100 might even happen before, who knows? But this is long term. There are other, you see people creating their own NFTs and flipping it, and they're making millions and stuff. That's great. I'm not one of them. So there's a lot happening in the space. I can't cover it all. But I'm just looking at Bitcoin itself. And yes, there are other altcoins that I particularly like right now. And MATIC is one of them. Bitcoin Cash is one of them. XRP is one of them. Like there's a ton. HNT, Chainlink is one of them. It's like, where do you put your money? And that's the thing. Where would I put my money to get the best bang of the buck? I've seen MATIC bounce. I've seen Terra Luna bounce. Terra Luna did some really amazing things over the past year. It's becoming a force to be reckoned with. It's a stable coin that's, I think, a lot better positioned than USDT. The USDC is not bad, but Terra Luna seemed to, have been gaining momentum. So that's it. Just wanted to, give you a quick Sunday update and, keep you apprised of what's going on. So we might be in the zone for a few more days until we start seeing a bit of a, we're going into month end. So next week being the end of January, and January being an extreme bearish month, I don't know in the bull run how much of this extreme downside that we're going to see before we start really making some upwards movements. But Kazakhstan has the electricity ongoing issue right now, and that's something to be cognizant of. There's the war that could happen and break out in the Ukraine. These things can affect the market at any given time. So look out for probably at some point in 2022, some type of event. It's been 2 years since the last one, but the way things are going, it is an election year, I believe. What that also means is that people want to bolster the economy. So yeah, let's raise interest rates. We're back to normal. Close the pandemic. the WHO is hinting at, you know what, the pandemic might be over soon. Why is that? All of a sudden, and you know, that's a whole other topic, right? You know, vaccines and everything like that. So I'm in Ontario, Canada. We're still locked down, like, you know, and all of a sudden the WHO is hinting that, yeah, the pandemic's pretty much over. Anyways, I'm not a scientist, so I'm going to keep focused on the issue at hand here, which is the market, Bitcoin. There are projects that I'm looking at getting into, like the NFTs with Dead Fellas, you know, the Apocalyptic Apes, Typical Tigers. Typical Tigers was actually a very cheap purchase, a couple of $100, I think, and that it's only going to have 3,900, and they're doing some wonderful things, trying to save the 3,900 tigers that exist in the wild, right? So that's what that project is geared towards. So it's something for good. You know, if I buy the NFT for those things, it actually is more like charity stuff, being a part of that group, right? So the Dead Fellas, that's really just artwork, but Coinbase, they're launching their NFT platform, and they have 2.5 million people, including myself, on a wait list just to get in to be able to trade NFTs on the Coinbase market. So as I was mentioning earlier, Bitcoin, you buy Bitcoin, it goes to Ethereum because you want to buy NFTs. Once you buy that NFT, that's literally like you having Ethereum right there. Because when you sell that NFT, when it increases in price, right, or if you resell it for a higher price, that NFT, you sell it for your ETH back for Ethereum. So when you take Ethereum, you buy the NFT, you're looking at what appears to be like a picture on your profile. It's an NFT, but it's actually on the Ethereum blockchain, right? So when you sell that NFT, you get Ethereum, right? So eventually, you know, more of that Bitcoin going to Ethereum than Ethereum going into buying NFTs and, you know, residing under the premise of an NFT. When that increases in value, you're going to be wealthier in terms of your Ethereum. But Ethereum is still a you know, second to Bitcoin in terms of the market share, in terms of market cap as well, right? So that Ethereum will likely be the next trillion-dollar coin, and that could happen. You know, anything is possible, but that can happen very soon. You know, within 12 months. MATIC will follow Ethereum's rise, and MATIC is also doing the increased burn activity for their tokens. So that's a great opportunity. You know, you can look at Solana and MATIC as the Ethereum back in, you know, the 2018, the Ethereum back in maybe even 2017, right? Look at these projects with a new lens and say, look, what am I looking at here? Do you think society, you know, right now, it's just a few people, maybe 100 million people in crypto right now. I remember it when it was like 30 million, literally 30 million people in crypto, 35 million roughly. Now it's grown tremendously. I should be really wealthy, but I'm not, because I made some huge errors, and you know, all my Bitcoin just went out the window, right? It happens to everybody unless you have solid strategy, right? So that now I do have that solid strategy. So I'm working my way up again, trying to rebuild, and with the notion and understanding of how I should treat this market. And I have to treat it like sometimes I just turn away. If the market's going red and I have my money in it, I bought my NFTs and I'm happy, I go out there and I live life, right? I work on other things. I don't stare at the screen all the time, right? Nothing's going to really change. You know, I'm not doing day trading, you know, because sometimes I look at the signals, I hop into a signal, and guess what? Bitcoin does what it wants, and my altcoin bet that I was making went down with it. So I think I'm comfortable buying some NFTs and just saying, hey, look, I'm looking at this nice, beautiful picture. I'm happy with that. It's all about being content, spreading your, you know, your money in different pots, right? Because you never know what could pop, right? So That's all, right? Just stay focused, stay positive. Good evening and signing off.